Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, your voice is a bit low. I don't know if you can hear me louder.
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to moderate this wonderful occasion, this wonderful meeting today. I'll be with you moderating throughout this session. My name is Main Tambo. I'm from Malawi, and I'm one of the M&D officers that is working under data collection at Center for Youth Empowerment and Civic Education. Without wasting much of your time, because we have already lost a lot of time, I just want us to make quick introductions. We know each other before we know our speakers of today and before we introduce the topic for today. So I just want us to introduce ourselves. Our host, if you can allow us to unmute ourselves so that we introduce ourselves and then we proceed with the meeting. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, it's open. Anyone can unmute and introduce themselves.
Okay, thank you so much. We have Hirale.
Yeah. So let me just start. Hi, good people.
Okay.
My name is Hilary from Kenya, and actually, I'm currently working as an outdoor environmental researcher, and we are advocating for climate justice. That is, we are actually fighting for Mother Nature. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I can see Mavis. Can we introduce ourselves?
Okay, I'm Mavis Edu Apia from Ghana, and I'm the event head of climate justice advocacy. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Another one I can see. Yeah, Mildred. Introduce yourself as well. We are just here to know each other, so yeah. Okay, fine. So without wasting much of your time, let me just proceed. We can start the introductions with our today's speakers. We have to know our speakers today. We have seen the flyer going around, but we have to know them in person. We have to know what they do, where they are from, and what they are going to share with us. So we are going to start with our speakers' introduction. Can we have Timothy? Timothy, can you hear me? I think Timothy is having some problems. He's failing to pick. Can we have Ewi? Ewi.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
Ewi, we can hear you. Proceed.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ewi Lama. I'm an environmental and climate justice advocate. I'm based in Cameroon, in Linde, in Southwest region. And I am team lead for African Voices for Africa's Forest,
Yeah.
non-profit organization in Cameroon where we focus on indigenous rights and landscape restoration. And we are particularly interested in women and young people in Cameroon. So you'll get to know more about the work we do in the course of the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ewi. Thank you. Can we go back to Timo? No, Timo, I think he's having problems with his network. We will go to Saudat. Saudat. Saudat, can you hear me? Can you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself? Saudat Kamardin, can you hear me? Am I audible? Can you hear me, people? Or maybe it's just a problem from my side, or maybe it's from Kamar.
Actually, we
Kamar,
can hear you very well.
So I think we have lost two of our speakers. They cannot hear me and they cannot respond. Okay, so as we are waiting for them, I think we can proceed we can proceed with Ewi. If that's okay, we can proceed with Ewi. You can just okay, before you start the continuing with your program, I think we can just also want to know what the meeting is all about today. So today we are discussing about building resilience, community engagement in land restoration. So I know most of us, we are familiar with climate change, and we have discussed a lot of topics on same. And also we know that there is need to have to build resilience so that our climate can improve. For instance, we have issues of drought, we have issues of floods, we have a lot of issues that are coming in right now because of climate change. And today's topic, mostly, as we have seen, community engagement, I think it's more about us, how we are going to contribute to this building of resilience and our community at large. So I want us all to feel free. Let us share. Let us be participative. Whenever we have questions, let's make sure we type in our comment box. If it's time for questions, we can also raise our hands so that we make it interactive and also we engage each other at large. This is an opportunity for us to learn from each other. It's also an opportunity for us to know each other so that we grow each other and we make an Africa a continent that is resilient. So for now, let me just pass it by to Ewi. Ewi, I just want you to proceed. Tell us what you have for us today. As we wait for other speakers who have not yet joined because of network issues. So let's proceed with Ewi, and then if others come in, we are also going to let them introduce themselves, and then we are also going to give them the opportunity to share with us what they have before we proceed with the program. Thank you so much. I hand over to you.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, you can. Go ahead. Yes.
Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here today at the Climate Justice Advocacy Webinar Series, and I'm going to be talking on valuing environmental education. Ewi Tiffany Lama, and I am an environmental and climate justice advocate. I'm also a Mandela Washington Fellow from the School of Public Affairs at Colorado University, Denver. I'm also UN Climate Action Ambassador, a climate reality leader, an FSB USA Climate Advocate Ambassador, and I am the lead at Voices for Forest Alliance. It's also called African Voices for Africa's Forests. So I come from a family that values education, and we are based in the southwest region of Cameroon, which is endowed with the volcanic Mount Cameroon. It has the Takamanda National Park, the Bimbia Bonazikumbu, Community Forest, and the Corrupt National Park. This here is where I am situated, where you see the Cameroon flag. That's where I am based, towards the beach of Cameroon. So being part of the Congo Basin, we realize that the Congo Basin actually faces a myriad of environmental challenges, and which include deforestation, habitat loss, wildlife poaching, mining, and degradation. And these issues have actually threatened the delicate balance of ecosystems within the region and beyond. And as a result, our initiatives actually address these challenges through hands-on eco programs in schools and in communities. We have education programs that we run with youth and programs we run with women. Education programs we run with youth and programs we also run with women. So with youth, we actually do climate education clubs or climate education programs in schools and in rural communities. And we organize programs on radios, educative programs on radios on environmental protection. We also organize climate parades, campaigns. We organized the very first climate parade in Cameroon 2 years ago. And we do boot camps with young people where we get them to stay in our camps for at least a month, and they get involved in environmental education programs, landscape restoration activities, like hands-on the ground activities. Activities are based around nature-based solutions. And we have environmental pageants that we actually set up. We in 2020, we had the Miss Environment pageant where we were able to mobilize young girls to plant trees, to advocate for environment and all. We also organize football games with young people and engage them through these games to plant trees and protect the environment. We run workshops and conferences with youth. In a few weeks, in a few months from now, we'll be organizing a climate education workshop with FSD Climate Advocate USA. So that is one of our partners that will be welcoming to Cameroon to work with us in establishing a climate education project in Cameroon. And we are really excited about that. They will train young people on climate education and engage them to start up their own clubs in different schools that we will monitor and work with partner organizations in Cameroon to help in supporting them to ensure that the climate clubs are continuous. With women, we also do education programs. We run a mobile climate leadership academy, and we started this with a reciprocal exchange program, which is the Mandela Washington Fellowship Grant Award that was given to us in 2023. It helped us to start this Climate Leadership Academy with rural women, and we are hoping that as we grow, we'll be able to train at least 1,000 women or girls in rural communities yearly through our Climate Leadership Academy. And we have workshops and conferences that we also organize with women. We recently organized the Sink Our Carbon workshop, which brought together rural women from communities. We train rural women on snail farming, mushroom cultivation, beekeeping, agroforestry, and many other things, micro enterprise development. We train them so that these are ways to build their capacity to be resilient to the impact of climate change. And we having focus group conversations. We have focus group conversations with women where we just sit down and talk about climate change issues and get to know their perspectives, their thoughts, and what solutions they can have at a rural or indigenous level, because we believe that they have the solutions within them. We also have radio talk that we have with women, and we have documentaries. You can check out the documentary African Voices for Africa's Forest, which we did last 2 years. The documentary actually tells the story of the impact of climate change and other environmental issues, wrong policy formulation and things like that, and how they impact women in rural communities, how they impact children in these communities. So those are some of the things. We recently had a water documentary that we did with some women here. It's still in the process of production. So please watch out for that documentary. On a documentary we launched last year at COP28 was a documentary on shifting power, which was actually produced by Power Shift Africa. So it tells the story of the impact of fossil fuels on women and the general population. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I thought maybe I got lost at some point.
No.
All right, so some of the impacts that have inspired change for us is that we've been able to involve 20% of rural women in local councils, and women have actively engaged in biodiversity conservation. The case of what we call Matanda. Matanda is actually a local name for mangroves. And the women have told us stories of how they have been able to save some indigenous trees from being cut down by coming together and refusing loggers from cutting it down. So we've established over 30 tree nurseries across forest communities. I think, sorry, I think I missed my slide. Okay, I'm here. I think I will just share like that. I hope it's still visible. So working with the women in these communities, one of the things that we were able to do is we were able to work with these rural women to establish a gender action plan for climate change. You can see it here at the center. So we did a gender action plan for climate change for women in these communities, and we are working on a policy recommendation document, which we presented to policymakers in 2 weeks, for consideration, so they can see what these women are doing and the things the women are actually involved in. We've had conversations that have led to formulation of 20 local forest management policies in communities, and we've been able to reach out to over 3,000 young people through in tree planting activities. We've helped women to generate alternative income sources through agroecology, mushroom cultivation, snail farming, and things like that. We've also been able to transfer knowledge across different generations. So we actually have some campaigns that we run as part of our education program. And one of the campaigns is the Climate Resilience Education Fund, where we are trying to, we are raising funds for young people to go to school in 2 communities in Cameroon, in Linde, where I'm based, and in another community called Kumba. And why we are focused on raising funds for those 2 communities is because Cameroon has had a crisis for some time, and children around these communities have not been able to go to school as a result of this crisis. And coupled with that, these are communities that are highly affected by the impact of climate change. So now they are facing a social issue alongside a climate issue, and it's becoming a real concern. Last year, we were able to support a few kids, and this year we are hoping to support more children to go through school, because every child needs education. They have a right to education. We also have the She Speaks Climate campaign that we are working to empower one woman, rural woman at a time. And that was a campaign that was launched last year. It was launched this year. The campaign that was launched this year when we started our Climate Leadership Academy. And we also have the Green Church campaign. The Green Church campaign is actually a campaign that is engaging youth in church in creation care activities. And we are trying to get more youth involved in environmental protection. If you're in Cameroon, Cameroon has about 70% Christians. And we believe that if we can be able to target the church, we'll be able to get a huge population of young people out there who can be able to take up more responsibilities and not just pray. So for what we are hoping for in the future is that we hope to establish a fully equipped climate leadership academy where more than 1,000 women and girls will be trained yearly. And we want to build partnerships with institutions like FSB USA Climate Advocate Program to start up a climate education program in Cameroon, which we are already initiating come August. And we are working towards a youth faith and climate conference in July, where we will be able to mobilize more youth to talk about climate change, environmental protection, and more. And we just recently hosted our Sink Our Carbon campaign with the US Embassy, and we are training women on snail farming. And this is a grant that is being sponsored by the US Embassy in Cameroon. We also have the Restore Bootcamp for summer holiday programs in forest communities that we are working towards. We hope that we can be able to organize that bootcamp this summer holidays so that we can have more young people from schools during holidays get involved in environmental programs. So carrying out environmental education is quite challenging because one thing is there's lack of resources like financial resources, teaching materials, and infrastructure. And it's so difficult when you have to train children without visuals. So we try to use all natural items around us to make the lessons more interesting. There are many children that have limited access to education and they cannot even come to school to be part of these environmental education programs or eco club programs that we organize in schools. So this is becoming a critical issue, and that's why we are insisting that every child needs to go to school so they can have access to some of these benefits and not miss out their childhood. There's also a lack of political will across not only the Congo Basin countries, but across Cameroon, across African countries. And this environmental education has not been made a priority. And there's often resistance to incorporating it into curriculum at different levels. So sometimes you're even applying for some grants and you're talking about environmental education or climate education, and the grants want you to talk about policy, they want you to talk about something else. And they are forgetting that the core of everything, the core of climate change is building minds of people before we can be able to engage in things like policy and all that stuff. So I want to take this quote from the Science Advisory Board, which says, when one generation's behavior necessitates environmental remediation in the future, a burden of environmental debt is bequeathed to its children, just as surely as unbalanced government budget bequeath a burden of future financial debt. And I don't think this is what we want to do. We don't want to pass on a debt to our children. We don't want to pass on a debt to our world. So we should better take action now. And how do we take action to improve environmental education? By increasing funding for environmental education programs, by integrating environmental education into mainstream education systems, by empowering communities to take action on practical environmental issues, increase student motivation and connecting subjects to students' lives by providing hands-on learning experiences. And also, we should be able to provide cognitive and practical behavioral components in teachers' training programs to prepare teachers to teach environmental education effectively at all levels. So it should not be something that's limited to a particular set of people. Everybody's hand has to come on deck for environmental education to be ensured. Everybody, whether you are educated or not educated, there is a possibility for you to put your hands on deck to ensure that environmental education is made possible. So if we are able to stand united as guardians of our forests and we are committed to addressing challenges, preserving our environment and creating a sustainable legacy by educating our communities, we'll be able to conquer these issues of environmental ignorance and let our community know that environmental education is a necessity. And I'm very grateful for you giving me this opportunity to be able to present this. Thank you very much. I'm open to questions that will further clarify you and make my presentation even more better to be understood. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rama. That was a wonderful presentation. That was Ewe Lama from all the way from Cameroon. Is it so? Cameroon, yes.
Yes,
It's
Cameroon.
Cameroon. Yes, and she's our UN Climate Change Ambassador, sharing with us some of the things that their organization is doing with the community in order to build climate change resilience. So these are some of the activities that they've been doing, some of the initiatives they have put, and she has also highlighted the relationship that they have with the government, and she has also stated some shift of interest for supporting climate change activities, which is one of the major challenges that most of our projects are facing currently on climate change. So without wasting much of your time, I think we'll allow Timothy and Sauda, if they are around, to share with us their presentations as well, so that we proceed and we proceed to our next agenda. Thank you so much. Thank you so much once again, Ewi, for the wonderful presentation. God bless you. Thank you so much. So we move to Timothy. Can you hear me? Timothy, I can see you, but can you hear me? Or you can unmute your video so that we see you. If you're able to hear us, just wave the hand. Sauda. Sauda, can you hear me? I think we are still not getting in touch with our two speakers. So maybe from the presentation that Ewi has shared with us, just to appreciate one or two things that she has shared with us, we can proceed to if there are any other questions from the presentation that she has just made. If you want any clarification from her, let's do that. Let's just do that by raising our hand and then we unmute ourselves. Okay, we have a question from Hilary. Please unmute yourself and proceed.
Yes, so I just want to take this opportunity to thank Miss Ewi for this actually wonderful presentation. From my side, I've actually learned a lot, and this is a proper way of localizing the strategies to reach the local people. Actually, what I could say is that let's now make this thing to be fair and effective for us to achieve the climate mitigation that we as youths actually we want to achieve. So I know the world, like as it right now, it is looking on the youth side, like what do we have, what like, and I know we have actually ideas and we need to actualize them. And I want to take this opportunity again just to thank Ewi for the wonderful presentation. He has actually shown us on how we can localize these strategies by use of actually non-violent direct action. And big thanks to you, Ewi. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful remarks and a word of encouragement to Ewi and the entire team in Cameroon. Thank you so much. Any hand? Do we have any hand? For now, I cannot see any hand, but I would like to go back to our speakers. Timothy? No, he left. I think he's having a network challenge. He's having network challenge, so he cannot hear me or something. But for me, I think I'm able. If I'm able to communicate with the rest of the team, I think my network is okay. So maybe as we wait from them, can we proceed to the next agenda? Can I have a go ahead from the team? Can I proceed to the next agenda? As speakers' presentation, it seems we have lost 2 of our presenters.
Yeah, sure. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you so much. So from the agenda, we after the speakers, we are supposed to.
Nice result, they go on.
Hello? Okay, so from the agenda, I have we are supposed to discuss, and then from the discussion, I think we are going to proceed to questions that we have for today, and then we interact and we share the platform so that we learn from each other. So for now,
okay.
since our yes, go ahead.
Actually, I just want to let you know that we have our I think Mr. like Saudat is around, because I've seen him saying that we should allow her to join actually. So you can do like something. Make sure you look. Yeah.
Come again. Sorry, I didn't get you. Sorry, I didn't get you.
I'm saying that like as in Saudat, who is our speaker, is around actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
so you
okay,
can
okay.
just follow up and see how you can connect with him. Is it her or him? Yeah, you can do that actually.
How? Okay, fine. Okay, Saudat, can you hear us now? Can you unmute yourself? Saudat, can you unmute yourself? Saudat, can you unmute yourself?
I'm actually asking her to unmute, but I think she has a problem with her device.
Okay. And I can't see Timothy as well. So I can see Saudat has like she has joined using 2 devices, but she's still failing to come in. So maybe she's having some problems. So I don't know, should I proceed or still wait?
Please, let's proceed. Probably
proceed,
people
proceed.
have more comments.
Okay, fine. So let's proceed from, I think from the wonderful presentation that we had from Ewi, we can also have a lot of discussion from there, though we'll miss some of the parts that we're supposed to learn from Nigeria and Ghana, but still, from the presentation that we had from Ewi, it looks we're good to go. We can still do something about it because it was so insightful and it had a lot of information that we can share and learn from. So from that, I think we go to understanding resilience in land restoration. This part we are given 10 minutes, and I would like to give it to Hilary. Hilary,
Yes, yeah.
are you the one taking us through?
No,
Yeah.
I'm just the one who is actually coordinating, but Mildred. So we can actually have a discussion on resilience to understand what is it, what we can do, because we with time. I think Mildred can also chip in and say something, because we have actually lost our two speakers who are supposed actually to be presenting. So we should go back and start discussing for our first speaker. I think she did a good presentation, so we can just join our hands together, our words, and yeah,
Okay.
and
Okay.
discuss.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. So on understanding resilience on land restoration, our first objective is to understand the impact of land degradation on communities. So from the presentation that we were shared, I think there are a lot of activities that they were doing with the community, and we have learned a lot. So I think we need to apply it from the questions or the case studies that we're going to read through. So I open the floor. What are some of the impacts of land degradation in our communities? So maybe we can share as a group, as a team from different countries. What is it that is happening in our nations, and how is it being handled? As we are also going to wait from the speakers who have spoken to us to also chip in on what they have so far done on land degradation. So I think we can start one by one.
Yeah, so let me just now start. So actually, when we talk about land degradation and what is happening, actually we as the youth in developing country, we are actually facing nature deprivation, and it has come to our notice that our leaders, they don't care about it because they want to embrace the development. But for we actually, we are feeling this impact because we are actually we are actually experiencing nature deprivation, and we should now come out with a non-violence direct action, the way our presenter was actually presenting. Because when we say that we are talking so much of problems, we are actually not going to have a solution. So we should come together as youths in developing countries, especially because we are talking of climate mitigation and climate adaptation, but when we go on the ground, these things are still worsening. So I think for us to come together now, we should come up with a notion of a climate voter to ensure that our leaders in developing countries also notice that our youths are actually experiencing this problem. They have identified this problem where they are actually living. So let's join us together and make our planet a better place. So when you talk about land degradation and resilience, these are actually, when you talk about resilience, this is actually the like as in challenge and how actually you are adapting to it, or actually you are enduring. So I think that when it comes to degradation, we as the youths in marginalized community and developing countries, you are actually facing unprecedented occasions. So we should join us together and use the non-violence direct action, and also create awareness to ensure that we reduce this information gap on climate mitigation, because it has been just, and it has been a talk, but we have not actually implemented. So we as youths actually we should actualize on what we are doing on the ground. I'm saying so because actually I'm doing some survey here in marginalized community, and coming to real and I have realized that the mining that is happening in this marginalized community need to be put on board. Actually, need to be actually discussed, because these people are not aware of actually environmental policy, the impacts that they need to actually do to ensure that also they are hard on mitigation and adaptation actually. So from my perspective, I can say that land degradation is still worsening in developing countries, and we should come out together as youths and continue to voice out our like we should actually do of, I mean, we should measure on words that have impact, because you cannot say that we are actually like as in voicing out, but on the ground we are actually achieving nothing. Just like just a reminder, it is the rain that actually give us flowers. So if we are just talking and we are not doing anything, we shall not achieve these sustainable development goals. I'm actually emphasizing on developing countries, because we youth in developing countries, you are facing it tough way, because these effects of climate change are actually affecting us so much. So we need to come out and we need to, as our first presenter presented, actually, we should use a non-violence direct action, right? So wherever you are, please,
Thank you so much for that wonderful sharing that you gave us here. So mostly we are looking at what have we done, what is it that we are doing to make sure that land degradation is being conquered in our areas. And you have talked, you have covered issues of working with the community, understanding the community, and because it's not only about just coming up with the initiatives, but it's also an issue of mindset change. Like for us here in Malawi, we have issues of development that are coming in. We have houses that we are building. So for us to build these houses, we mold bricks from clay. So when we are getting the clay from the ground, we are destroying the land, but still more we need to build the houses. So how do we conquer that? So you have spoken issues of working with the communities, making them to understand the importance of reserving our soil, the importance of climate resilience, which is really important for us. As we are developing, we should not overlook the impacts of that development to our environment. So far, I don't have any other hand up, but I just want to hear and learn. We should learn from each other on the impacts of climate. On the impacts of degradation in our country, in our communities, and what is it that we are doing as an individual and also as an organization at large, so that we learn from each other.
Yes,
What
I
are
have seen that Dr. Mohammed has actually raised his hand, or I don't know. Mr. Have you raised your hand? Here, who have raised their hands?
Actually, Alvin had his hand up, and also our other speaker, Timothy, is ready to present.
Oh, okay, fine. So I think we can go to Timothy, so that as people are preparing for recommendations, comments, and anything, we can also hear from him, and then we take it from there, so that we go together as a team, so that we don't leave anyone behind, so that we don't go back and forth. Timothy, if you're ready, please come in.
As we wait for him, let Alvin first say out his question or comment.
Okay, fine. Okay, Alvin, and then we hand it to you, Timothy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry. Thank you. I think we are still growing. Once there is any form of rain, be rest assured that the network for that day is messed up. I don't know. I used to wonder, outside Africa, when it's raining, does it have to affect the network? But just be rest assured, if you're in a place, I'm currently in Abuja, Nigeria. Once you just see the rain, be rest assured, your network for that time is messed up. It's quite unfortunate. Sorry. My name is Timothy again, and it's good to be here. So I know our time is fast spent. Let's see what we can achieve probably in the next 10 minutes. Can you move to the next slide? So let's look at advocacy, climate advocacy in the first place, and then see how we can narrow it down. With my slide, please, can you move to the next? Okay, can you move to the next? Okay, good. All right, so, okay, no, yeah. So just like the word is, okay, when we support a cause or a proposal, when individuals or group try to influence decision, whether it's a political decision, an economic decision, or a social system, is really referred to as advocacy. So it differs whether it's in terms of public speaking, in media campaigns, in doing research, in petitions, meeting with government officials. Hello?
Hello, we are getting you. Hello, we are getting you.
We can hear you.
Okay. As I speak to you now, I'm seeing my system freeze, probably with the network. So I'm just in Zoom meeting not responding. But if you can hear me, let me just go. Let me just go on. So that is referred to as advocacy. Okay. So sometimes people confuse it with being activism. So I met someone, and he was worried that the government, it was a state government, the government is now picking on him because of his in quotes activism. Activism. So it's little different when you use direct or confrontational action, okay, in a way that seems to be in opposition, even though you are supporting the cause, is activism. But advocacy on its own is just a process, is not merely confrontational, okay? It just works within the system. Activism, you may want to confront, which is working outside the system. So just to get that clear on the difference. So in advocacy, we are trying to influence decision, whether it's business, workplace, whether it's university, whether it's the government, okay, is about trying to change policy, That's policy that is as opposed to lifestyle action. Okay, so in terms of climate change now, we're trying to probably reduce individual emission, either by reducing food waste or driving an electric car advocacy. So this advocacy more like provides solution, what should be done, okay, more should be done. We are going to narrow it down at some point to climate education and try to see the line between climate advocacy and climate education. So, but mainly advocacy is trying to change the system through coalitions of civil society groups, environmental friendly businesses, or even befriending government officials working together to change policy. Okay, so just look at those types, those many activities I mentioned, whether it's research, petitions, meeting with government officials, and the likes. Okay, so why do we need advocacy? Next slide, please. Okay, why we need advocacy? It's a collection of tools, strategies, and tactics any person or organization at any levels can use to affect positive change. Remember, let me say this clearly, advocacy is for everyone and can be a useful means of overcoming persistent barriers, whether it's a large or small barrier. So it's active promotion of a cause or a principle. So we have something we need to promote. That's advocacy. It involves action that leads to, you have your goal, a selected goal, okay? Of course, there are so many other possible strategies, but it's one of those strategies or ways or approach to approach a problem, okay? You can decide to use the activism to be confrontational, or you can use litigation to, to take the government to the court. So what about
I think our speaker is having a problem, or is it on my side? Eh?
I think we lost our speaker. He had hinted about his network challenges. So as we wait for him to come back, I think Saudat is speaking. Saudat, can you hear us now?
Hello.
Yeah. Moi, back to you. I think we have Saudat on the call, right?
Finally. Hello, everyone. So sorry for the network issues. It's so great to be able to join now. I'll see if I'll be able to share my screen and then we'll take it from there.
Are you sharing your presentation with us?
Yeah, I'm trying to, but Mildred, please, I've shared it to you as well on WhatsApp. So if I'm facing some challenges, can you please help me do that?
All right, please go ahead with your presentation as we try to screen share for you.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So I'll be speaking on the role of community engagement in land restoration. So before delving into it, I would like to elaborate. I've been on and off, so I'm not really sure what has been said and what has not been said, but I would like to touch on what community engagement is and what land restoration is, and now merging it to enlighten us about the role or the importance of community engagement in land restoration. So again, I would like to apologize for all the technical issues. I'm Saudat Kamaruddin, founder, Globally Green FXB Climate Ambassador, and I'm from Ghana. So community engagement refers to the process where individuals come together to work towards achieving a common goal or to address the issues that affect the community. So community engagement involves building relationships, communicating with community members, and collaborating with them, encouraging individuals to participate in the decision-making process in the community. Now, what is land restoration? Land restoration is also the process of revitalizing land that has been degraded or damaged or destroyed to a healthier and more natural state. And so it's more of like giving the land a second life. Now, why is land restoration important? It's important because it's able to improve the productivity of the land. It's able to enhance biodiversity. One of the ways to restore land is to practice afforestation. And when afforestation is practiced, that means we're going to have more trees in our environment, and it's providing habitat for a number of living species or different species of animals to inhibit in that particular environment. And then another importance why land restoration is important is to mitigate the impacts of climate change. Now, leveraging on afforestation again, we know that when we plant more trees, we are able to trap or reduce the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere, and thereby helping to mitigate the impacts of climate change. Another importance of land restoration is to restore our ecosystem and to improve the ecological health of the environment. Now, restoring our ecosystem and improving the ecological health of our environment go hand in hand. And the ecological health of the environment refers to where the physical, the chemical, and the biological components of the environment are intact, thereby enhancing interrelationships between dwellers of these ecosystems and their environment. So now I would like to go into benefits of involving local communities in land restoration projects. So local knowledge and expertise. We know that these locals, if I can put it that way, have been in this community long before we started experiencing some of these issues, especially with our older folks. And so they are able to give us in-depth knowledge about the history of the land, how to efficiently use the land, what kind of local species existed before the land was destroyed. And they are able to also tell us more about the natural cycles. Okay, so this knowledge is more of, let's say it's priceless, because if I do not reside in a particular community, I will not be able to tell all of these things unless I do some in-depth research. And sometimes the research is not even able to provide me all the information or all the necessary information. But when you have locals who have been in that particular community for a longer period of time, and they know how some of these things have affected them, they're able to give you the knowledge of how things were before time. And then this helps to identify the effectiveness of restoring the land that we seek to achieve. And then another benefit of involving local communities in land restoration projects is ownership and stewardship. This is my community. Efforts are being made to restore the land. We own it with so much pride because we know it is for our own good. And also there is social collaboration. Members of a community, especially in smaller communities, they know each other to even when a new person enters or walks into the community, they are able to tell that this is a new phase. So that kind of social bond is already there. And so when you are working together with such people and building your own community, you're restoring the land in your own community, it makes it easier, and progress is made at a faster pace. And then education and awareness. So obviously we can't all know the same thing because we are living in the same community. So we are able to build, we are able to share knowledge, we are able to connect more with each other, and we are able to share, spread more awareness. So we all have families. So mostly reps from each family can come together. When we go back, we share with our families. Um, Mildred, is my slide still not up? Uh, I wish we could, but let me go on.
I shared you a message. Please kindly revert back. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let me check that and get back to you.
Or actually, you can share the presentation here in the chat, then it will be easier that way to open.
Okay, then let me do that now. I was trying to see if I could still present and share, but I think I'll be distracted. So let me attend to this and then I'll continue. Today doesn't seem like a good day for me.
Hello.
Actually, Timothy is back. I think you can proceed as you try to share your screen.
All right.
Miss Ewe, please kindly share his screen.
Hello, Mildred, do you want me to share my screen?
Share the other presentation for Timothy.
Okay then.
Okay, Ewe, then I'll be sharing my slides with you too, if that's fine.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Is this okay, or so that you want me to share your slides?
Yeah. What's not
I think
happening?
we have a
Hey,
question from Zibanda. Saudat, please kindly respond to that as Timothy makes his presentation again.
Am I sharing Timothy's slide or so that slide?
but hello. From my perspective, we could have shared for the other girl called Saudat because he was just going on well. So you just share her presentation, then we shall go back to Timothy after like as in Saudat because we don't want to bring that after the contribution because we are learning, you know.
Okay, thank you, Eri. I got to mobilizing resources and support for community-led restoration project. I think that's like the 5th slide. Great, thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, I think we are on track now. So yeah, I was on my 4th point, organize capacity building workshops. So, no, was I here? Sorry, Eri. Sorry, benefits. The slide before this one. Yes, thank you. So adaptive management. So I think, yeah, that's where I got to. Thank you. So community engagement allows for adaptive management of restoration projects. Okay, this gives way to local participants to provide ongoing feedback and observation, enabling project managers to adjust strategies in response to changing conditions and unforeseen challenges. So when this kind of project is happening in a local community where community individuals are involved, they are able to see that the progress is being made, and as and when there's any challenge, it can be brought to the attention of those in charge, rather than a group of individuals moving to an entirely new community to set up a project and then have to go back home. And sometimes, even though it's put in charge of residents of that particular community, sometimes the commitment is not really there. But if it's something that the community feel like they are owning, it makes it easier to and then also leads to the sustainability of this project. Next slide, please. So mobilizing resources and support for community-led restoration projects. Okay, so we are able to communicate the vision we are supposed to communicate the vision and the plans with community individuals. So if we say we are going to do something and you mobilize individuals together, you should be able to let them know what you seek to achieve, help them paint that picture, and help come up with a plan. They could even be involved in that process so that in the end, we all know what we are going to do and we are all passionate about the results that we want to achieve. And also form partnerships and collaborations. Now, partnership, even with the SDG goals, we know the last goal is partnership for all the goals, because without partnership, much can't be done. And so we have to form partnerships with, even sometimes with regards to partnerships, it's not necessarily supposed to be organizations or individuals from our community, but then we can leverage. And because believe it or not, some communities are steps ahead, some communities have passed this phase. And so when you engage, or some organizations have aided in such projects that you seek to create or you seek to go ahead with. So when you partner with such organizations or other communities, you are able to get a clearer picture of what you're working on, and you're able to achieve desirable results. And yes, raise funds, like funding is the integral part of like every project. Like you need funds to be able to bring your, let me say, dream in quotes into reality. And so your dream of restoring the land in your community, you definitely need funds. And now when we are together in a community in Ghana, most of our communities are led by chiefs. I don't know how, if it's the same, Africa, we are similar in a lot of things. So yes, we can have the linguist, we say Ochame here. So you can have someone who is closer to the linguist or someone who is closer to the chief. And most of our chiefs have networks with other chiefs, other international organizations and all of that. They serve as the mouthpiece of our respective communities. And so if we are together, it's easier to reach out to important people in our communities like this, and we can leverage on them to help raise funds for our project to be realized, and also organize capacity building workshops. Now, this is very important because, like I mentioned earlier, we have to give training and to individuals. So it's similar to education. So education and training to these people. This is what we want to do. This is how we go about it. And you open their minds, and then they are able to contribute meaningfully to the sustainability and the implementation of the project. And then the sustained engagement. So this is more of like the sustainability approach, where you mobilize, after mobilizing all your needed resources and the individuals, you're able to sustain the project, because sustainability of the project is, I believe, is the most important thing. Because what's the point in going through all this and then in the end you're not able to sustain it, and subsequently you're not able to show any result for it. So it makes the sustainability of the project makes it more, or makes the project more beneficial. Next slide, please. Strategies for effectively engaging with communities. Now, when we say community engagement, some of us we don't even know who our neighbor is. It's hard to find in Africa, but then in some parts, especially the rural parts, it's sometimes it's difficult. And mostly in environments where we need these kind of things, it's a good thing that we are already connected with a lot of people in our community. Like I mentioned earlier, like when you're a new person and you step into the community, they know it that you are not one of them, or you do not come from here. And so we are supposed to understand, one key strategy is for us to be able to understand the community. What are our norms, what are ethics, what are taboos, because in Ghana, in Accra, we do not fish on Tuesdays. We are the coastal area. We do not fish on Tuesdays. Now, if you do not know this about your community and you want to do something relating to the ocean, and you go there on a Tuesday and you want to, it would be frowned upon. Even if your intentions are good, it would be frowned upon, because on Tuesdays it's a taboo to, go fishing and all of that. And so you're supposed to understand your norms, your ethics, your taboos, and understand how things happen in the community. Then you have to build a relationship and build trust among individuals in your community. If a group of you think that land restoration is very important, like you should be able to get everybody to see that dream. And it's done when we know that, oh, I believe in what Ewi is saying, or I believe in what Mildred is saying, and I believe we can do this, and I believe we can do that. Then another person, or let me say another heart joins, and another heart joins, and another heart joins, because it's all about passion. When we are passionate about it, then we put in our all to see the best, or to achieve the best that we can. But if there's no passion, we are reluctant to doing it and you get a group of people saying, nah, I'm not interested, or nah. But if everyone is, or if you're able to connect with each other and you're able to build that relationship and that trust with each other, you would see that it would be easier, and the community, and it will be very effective in engaging with your community. And then participation and involvement. Yes, if you're bringing something on board, you yourself should be involved. You yourself should be like a strong participant, because I can't come and say, oh, let's do this, and then the next day you don't find me on site. Like, then what is Saudat even talking about? Why did she call us here together? You should also be involved so that they are able to see that, oh, okay. And even with your participation, because you hold, let's say, 90% of the vision that you're trying to share across the community members, you are able to take bolder steps, and you're able to see things clearer, and then give way to your community members to see things clearer as well. And then empowerment. Okay, no, develop community strategies, or communication strategies, sorry. So yeah, it's linked to the building trust. You know how to effectively communicate with your people, and that would in turn help achieve the results that we are looking forward to. And yeah, empowering your community members as well. So yeah, these are a few steps when it comes to community engagement and land restoration, or in any project that we seek to achieve. Now, I would go to some real life instances, some case studies of successful community engagement. Next slide, please. Yes. I don't know if there are Kenyans in the house, but this case study is from Kenya, the Green Belt movement in Kenya. It was founded by the Wangari Maathai, and they aimed to combat deforestation, restore degraded land, and promote environmental conservation. Now, they leveraged on community engagement. And how did they do that? They mobilized women in these communities to plant trees and manage the nurseries, okay? And then it's provided education on sustainable land use and environmental stewardship. Now, what was the outcome of this? They were able to plant over 51 million trees. That should tell you the power of community engagement. That should tell you the power of working together. That should tell you the power of believing in each other's dreams, and that we can do this. Okay. And they were able to restore thousands of hectares of degraded land. So this is not something that we are imagining, but this is something that has actually happened, and that means it can happen for us too. And then there was the empowerment of women through education and income generating activities. Increased environmental awareness and advocacy for policy change. So we can see these amazing outcomes. When I was doing this research, I was very impressed to see this. And what helped? Grassroots mobilization, focus on women empowerment, and the integration of environmental restoration with social and economic development. So all this is highlighting the importance of community engagement in land restoration. And not even though our highlight here is land restoration, but maybe some of us want to engage in other projects aside land restoration, and this applies. Like, it's still achievable if we are able to do this with our respective communities. Now, next slide, please. Another real life case study I would like to mention is the Niger Regreening Initiative in Niger. So the Sahel region faced severe desertification, impact of food security and livelihoods. I know most of us have heard about the situation in Niger even before their recent crisis. And food insecurity or food security was a major problem for them. But this initiative was able to help, and let's see how it helped. So first of all, let's talk about community engagement. The initiative promotes farmer managed natural regeneration, where farmers protect and manage the natural regrowth of trees and shrubs on their land. Okay, so now what was the outcome of this? Regeneration of over 5 million trees of regeneration of over 5 million hectares of degraded land. Okay, increased crop yield and food security. Now, I mentioned earlier that it was an issue to them, and coming together and working together, they were able to increase their crop yields and food security. So they were able to provide this solution for themselves, and also enhance resilience to drought and climate change, strengthened community cooperation and land stewardship. Now, what helped? Empowerment of local farmers. Now, if you have this kind of initiative and you want to work with farmers, you should be able to empower them. I mentioned empowerment in one of my slides earlier. So empowerment is very, very, very important. So the local farmers were empowered, which helped to lead to such amazing outcome. Cost-effective and scalable techniques and integration of traditional, now the highlight is traditional practices with modern methods. I always say that one of the key ways to combating climate change is going back to our roots. In Ghana, I would leverage on Ghana because yes, I'm Ghanaian. When our forefathers existed, there was nothing like plastic cups, there were nothing like plastic cutlery, there were nothing like plastic plates. We didn't have to deal with all of that because our calabash was good for us. And I know this is something that's common in a lot of African countries as well, or that used to exist in a lot of African countries as well. We used to eat from the leaves, and we still do, especially when it pertains to our one of our favorite breakfasts called waakye. I'm sure a few Ghanaians here would be able to attest to that fact, where we particularly love to eat that from the leaf even till date, and it's something I'm excited about. And then using our hands to eat, like thankfully, we still use our hands to eat, especially most of our local foods with soups. And so all hope is not lost. But then I just touched on that because I wanted to highlight on how traditional practices are very, very important when we want to turn to sustainable approaches to make our world a more meaningful place to be. So yeah, next slide, please. Miss Dean is also me, and I said it all lies within us to make a difference and be the difference. So thank you all very much. Again, I'm very, very sorry for all the technical issues, and I'm glad I was able to share this with you. Thank you for having me, and thank you all for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saudat, for that wonderful presentation. I think we are 1 hour, 30 minutes into the meeting, and we have heard a lot from our first speaker, that was Iwi Lama, on environmental education as a way forward in also contributing to building community resilience. And we've just heard more about how to engage communities in this land restoration activities or projects. That was really an amazing presentation we have had from our various speakers. And before you leave, I think there was a question specifically addressed to you in the chat, Saudat, but I believe the other speakers can respond to that as well. The question goes, I think it was from Sibanda, how can we involve faith-based religious society to land restoration as a climate crisis remedy? The question is not so clear, but I feel like maybe you get the question, or Sibanda can actually unmute and...
Can you take it again, please?
Sibanda, are you on the call? I think he has left the call, but what he meant is how can faith religious based societies get involved in community land restoration.
Mildred, I will go for that. I don't know if Sadat is there
All
already.
right, yeah, sure. Yeah, either of you can respond.
Yeah, so in the course of my presentation, I presented that we are having the Green Church campaign. And the reason we are having that campaign is because we noticed that there are more churches around my community. So and they're not getting involved in community issues or environmental protection, which I feel like it is actually something that, because it is not being pushed in these institutions, most of the things that are preached in institutions is just to pray. But whether be it in the Quran or be it in the Bible, when God created the whole world, He gave mankind a mandate to take care of creation, for creation care. And we have been missing out in all of this by not taking up the responsibility of God. One of the highest responsibilities we've taken is the responsibility of procreation, which is not the first responsibility that God actually gave us. So, simple ways in involving the church. 2 years ago, we organized. We did not organize. We're actually working on a concept on putting together a music competition for churches across Limbe, where I am. And the idea was for choirs to develop environmental songs that were actually giving glory to God, but they spoke about the environment. And we involved youth in church to also take part in tree planting exercises, in cleaning water catchment areas, and we also started organizing webinars that brought church leaders to talk their perspectives on environmental protection. And when we organized seminars or workshops, we ensure that we invite church leaders, 1 or 2 church leaders, to those workshops, so that they can represent the Christian community and they can pass this message back to their churches. So it's something that is not, we are still growing on, but we have a lot of projects in the pipeline that we have put down, and we are hoping as funds show up, we'll be able to implement these projects one step at a time by deliberately involving church youth, church women, church men, leaders to take care of environment and to preach environmental protection and creation care. Because if we don't start doing that now, we will be regretting in the future, based on the fact that most of our communities, more than 80% or more, about 95% of our communities are faith-based. And if we can have all faith-based institutions come together to be able to take care of creation, then we'll be doing a great deal for ourselves. So we don't have to allow people to be nonchalant. We must be deliberate about what action we are taking. We must make sure that people are taking responsibility. And we must be able to promote campaigns like the one that we are leading. It could be the Green Church campaign or the Green Faith campaign. Those are things that we make people to ask questions like, oh, so something like this is happening. What are we doing about the Green Church campaign? What are we doing about the Green Faith campaign? And in that case, we'll see more people who are. And one thing I realized also is when we are doing our advocacy at our different platforms, at our different levels, we are not bold enough to talk about our religious backgrounds with our advocacy. As a climate activist, you must not exclude your faith background from what you're doing in community. If you are a Muslim, speak about what your faith says concerning environmental protection or climate change
If you are a Christian, speak about the things your faith says about those. We must be bold enough on our social media platforms to make people know that you can still be a Muslim and you're taking care of your environment. You can still be a Christian and you're taking care of your environment. It starts from us. I think I will stop there.
Okay. To add to Ewi's rich knowledge she just shared with us, I would like to touch on aligning with religious values and teachings is similar to what she shared in her last submission. If you want to get people to be interested in a particular thing, you're supposed to be able to align it with their values. And so something like environmental stewardship, a lot of Africans are very religiously inclined. And so one thing we have to do is to highlight teachings from these religious texts to support our care for the environment, and also let them have the sense of moral responsibility to protect and preserve God's creation. Now, Muslims believe in God, Christians believe in God, and so when you take it from that angle, they are able to feel the sense of responsibility to take care of the world. Now, after they are willing to do that, what next? So we have to involve faith leaders in the planning process to ensure their perspective and concerns are considered. I see that most of the time we lack here because when there is an issue, we mostly talk to even when we are listing stakeholders, we do not list our faith leaders. We mostly do not do that. And so that's where the problem usually comes from. But then when we involve them and maybe even establish interfaith councils and committees to facilitate collaboration among different religious groups, I believe it will go a long way to help us restore our lands and achieve any other project or the success of any other project we seek to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lama and Dean. That was, I think, quite a good response for the question that Sibanda had for all of us. So for the few minutes left, I would like to give another opportunity to our speaker who had started presenting. He's now back, and he was presenting on something amazing on advocacy, raising efforts, awareness, and raising efforts again on how to build resilience when it comes to communities. So Timothy, you're most welcome. I think Lama will share your presentation again, but you can go ahead with your presentation, yeah.
Okay. Have any other thing to add to the beautiful presentation that has already been done? So just to conclude, you might understand it might be difficult for me to proceed, but just to conclude, and to repeat that advocacy, we've just heard about community engagement, okay? It can be used as part of a community initiative. So when a community have a voice, protest, not the word, that sounds more with the something the next move have to like groups that among NGOs. Second, in advocacy is to find what are the interest communities. Okay, what are the interest communities? Which community will somehow narrow down to a case study, but we need to find which community, why this particular community in the long run. Is there a sustainability plan for that particular community if we use that community? And of course, there are strategies when it comes to advocacy. Okay, there are strategies. So we need to determine another stage in advocacy. You need to determine the strategy that you want to be in use. It can be writing to the policymakers, of climate education. Okay, who are we want to advocate for the if we don't find one lawmaker that we also lobby. So we are doing the consultation at the local level. We're also engaging the lobbying through campaigning or through things. Okay, these are important. At the end, these campaigns, when we're able to determine which of the advocacy strategy is effective, that's what gives us the results that we are hoping to get from advocacy. Okay, remember I said it's less confrontational action. Okay, so teach that I want to be, I know a community policy that came sit down on that is their need for policy strategy to discuss this strategy. If the
Timothy, we can barely hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You are having some breakages.
Okay, I won't know at the point where you stopped hearing me. I've been talking. I won't know the points. Oh God.
No, you can
Okay.
proceed. You can
Okay.
proceed. Yeah, we can hear you
now. Let's go to the next slide. So I was just trying to make clear some advocacy strategy just to provide how it works. So remember, when it comes to defining advocacy, let me repeat it. You need to understand there are some tools, strategy, tactics that you as a person, an individual, can make use of. Okay, can make use of any society. So it's for everyone. Okay, it's for everyone. But it involves, there's some key principles. Initially in the I don't know where you stop hearing me. I was trying to explain some fundamentals to keep in mind, that you need to know the context of what you're advocating for. Remember, advocacy involves, I'm going to provide a little case study, but let me say this before that case study. It involves politics and power. Advocacy involves politics and power. Okay, so because it's about enacting changes within an existing political or power structure. Okay, so you need to understanding of the local context in which advocacy will be conducted. That's why I said I'm going to let you know there's a slight difference between climate advocacy and climate education. So I'm involved in climate education. We're going to see that probably in the next few slides. But those climate education cannot really translate into action without climate advocacy. So with all the time I spend in the classroom talking to students, doing climate education, forming clubs, establishing clubs and all that in schools and all that, those cannot translate into concrete action without climate advocacy. Now, the students, as important as it is for us to next generation and help to form a sustainable future, but the changes we want to see, that the local farmer want to see with the impact that climate change is currently having, will not come from these students being aware of climate change. The last I spent almost 2 hours just to explain COP29, what we're expecting from COP, 2. How did we get interactive session? 2 hours I spent with these whole students trying to explain to them what happened at COP23, at COP24, on what happened last year in COP28. Very good, very, very wonderful they have. But all those wonderful education, explaining all the way to what is UNFCCC, the legal struggles when it comes, what is climate governance, and all that will not really translate to the required action. That the local man that flooding is ravishing his farmland as a result of climate change impacts. Those climate education I'm having in the class might not really translate to the local farming. Okay. Casey, climate education is good, but you need to have a plan. That's why advocacy is strategic. Principle
We can't hear you, Timothy.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure.
Can you hear me? Okay, I said, can you go back to the last I was trying to talk on so all this while I've been trying to talk about the principles of advocacy, but obviously probably I was talking to myself. Oh God. Okay. I took time to explain these 5 principles, but I'm sorry time is past. I took time to explain it, if unfortunately we were not hearing. Okay, and I tried to talk about what are the characteristics of successful advocate. For you to be a good advocate, what are the characteristics? Okay, so let's just go just for climate education. I try to explain the difference between climate education and climate advocacy. Move ahead, just move ahead. Hello. Okay. So let me a case study, a local community in Senegal. Is a farming community of about 20,000 people. Okay, somewhere between Senegal and Guinea. Okay, so these people, the climate solution that is required needed the use of their local knowledge. And that local knowledge that they have of what can solve some of their climate change impacts, because that community, okay, after, can I just drop a link to that research work? Let me just drop it on the chat. Because of time, I might not want to. Okay. Oh, I'm making use of the phone, right? Talking now, so is why it's on the system. Okay. Let me see if I can. Now that is just a case study of the Basiri area. Their definition of climate change impact differs. A local community defines their own. I've gone past climate education. I don't know if you can go a little. Well, some of the things I did, things inspiring, being a lot. And acquiring skills, I install can job opportunities when it comes to green jobs. Comes to green jobs, so time we felt me to start, talking about the green skills, and some of the green clubs or clubs are formed in some of this school. I just want to talk about the community. The community. I visited a community of that is made of many of us local farmers, and their crops, their farmland is being ravished with climate change impact, by climate change impact, soil erosion to be specific, flooding. These are some of the key climate change impacts that affects most of the community here in the southern part of Nigeria. Okay, flooding, in high level of temperature, damaging their farmland. The rainfall is unpredictable. You don't know when is the next rainfall. Okay, so some of these key climate change impacts, the farmers themselves came together, and I saw them filling sacks of bags with sand, sacks and big bags, fill it with sand, and they drop it at that area where you have those gully erosion, where you have those soil erosion. They fill it up. This is their own indigenous solution. Local farmers, inclusive of local communities, they have their own indigenous solution, local knowledge of solving some of these climate change impacts. But we can't get this until we begin to provide the right form of engagement. Community engagement, local engagement with most of these local farmers is key if we have to achieve climate adaptation. And as far as climate change is concerned, if there is one key way to go right now, the key way forward beyond climate mitigation is adaptation. Not just adaptation, but locally led adaptation, where the government, whether it's at the federal level, the international level, the state level, are beginning to engage the local community, with the local farm, to find out their indigenous solution, their local knowledge to solve this climate. I was my interaction with his business and what he does, in his farm, I noticed that before he was constant complaint of his fishes dying off and all that. So the last time I visited, I was very inquisitive to know, how did you solve this issue? Feed do you now give and all that? What he did was to hybrid hybrids. The hybrid was ravishing his original solution. Okay, this
Yeah, I think we have lost Timothy again. I just want to know if we have any questions from anyone.
Yeah, locally, these are indigenous solutions that local farmers are.
We can't hear you, Timothy. I see a question from Hillary. I think Lama or Dean, you can please go ahead to respond to that. Then we see how to wind up this meeting. In 1 minute, please.
Mildred, please, can you read out the question?
Yeah, the question goes, how can we ensure fair and effective tree planting and growing in current political instability?
Okay, in my case, one of the ways to ensure fair tree planting is, one thing with the civil society organizations is their ability to advocate, like Timothy is saying. And especially across Africa, advocacy has been seen has been addressed to look like a form of brutality, and we are trying to change the status quo by making it look more as a way to get everyone involved. So one of the things we do is we involve policymakers in our advocacy campaigns, and we ensure that they support our moves, and we have permits from them that enables us to take activities into place. Recently, we held a workshop where we brought together only policymakers to tell them about the work we are doing and how we need their involvement. And by the time we left that workshop, we had partnership deals that were signed with different ministries and delegation. We had partnership deals signed with the Ministry of Mines and Water and Energy, the city councils, the mayors of different councils, the Ministry of Environment. We had like different agreements that were signed with them. And these agreements now help us to engage communities fully into whatever action we want to. So there was a time when we had planted trees in an area and the trees were being cut down, burned, and things were happening. So we had to visit the city mayor and tell them, like, this is what is happening to these trees. We actually took a permit from you to plant these trees and now see what is happening to the trees. And a decree had to come out from their office to those around the area who were causing that damage. This was really helpful to us because we couldn't have done it as just an institution, would have been questioned. But because the government was involved, we didn't get to be questioned because there was a higher authority. So if we want to involve communities effectively in landscape restoration activities, we need to corner the powers that be and work together with them, not exclude them from our advocacy work. Because if we exclude them, we are actually going to be fighting our authority. And by the time we start fighting authority, we can't win. So as a young organization, a small organization that is still trying to gain some international momentum, you can't win. Most of the institutions that we run, they seek funding from all over the place. We are not institutions like the Greenpeace, where they can be able to speak out loud anyhow they want to because they know where they are being backed. So as young institutions, we must find ways for public-private partnerships with our public institutions because African countries are run and governed by public institutions, and if we must do the best work, we must have good relationships with our public leaders. So I think that let's start from there.
Okay, to touch to what Ellie shared with us, partnering with our public institutions are very, very important. But then sometimes there are some political instability that poses challenges to us. And in as much as it's very, very important that we partner in while we seek to that partnership to happen, in able to achieve all the things that Ewi has been able to share with us that would achieve if we are able to work with them. One thing we can leverage on again is community engagement, where would come together as community to plan and implement. You touched on tree planting, so we work and then we implement tree planting project and then ensure that we have ownership over the process since this is in our respective communities. And also we partner with other local NGOs so that we can utilize local knowledge and expertise of these organizations to navigate political dynamics and cultural sensitivities. Okay, so in as much as sometimes there are political instabilities, we can go ahead to do these things as a community, and while still reaching out to our public institutions, because it's very, very important that we have them on board. But that's not to say that if there's an instability, we sit down and relax and say, oh, there's an instability, and so we cannot plant trees and we cannot do anything for ourselves unless there's a public stability. So in as much as it's also very important, we can also do something in our local community. Sometimes we can even plant a tree in our compound, one tree in a compound, one tree in my compound, one tree in Eri's compound. And I would like to highlight the Green Belt movement again in Kenya, which was founded by the Wangari Maathai during the period. And interestingly, it was founded during the periods of political instability and social unrest. Okay, and then they use the approach of empowering local women to plant trees, restore ecosystem, and to promote sustainable livelihoods. And I shared earlier, they were able to plant millions of trees, and then they were able to strengthen community resilience and environmental awareness. And even today in Ghana, we hear of them. And sometimes they are even used as an example when we're empowering people in Ghana or we're empowering communities in Ghana. We always use the Wangari Maathai group as an example. And so, yes, we can take it one step at a time. But then, as Ewi shared, the ultimate importance is to ensure that we involve our public institutions in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lama and Dean, for responding to that particular question. I think we have gone past the meeting time, but we're going to conclude just in 5 minutes. I would like to say that this has been actually a very engaging session and a very insightful one, in a way that we need this kind of education through these webinars to educate people about the urgency when it comes to climate action. And the key points that I've taken away from this webinar, from the 3 speakers we had, is that there is more need for environmental education in both schools and communities, and there is more need for us all on the call and those ones that are listening to us on YouTube, that we need to act more by engaging the communities. How do we participate when it comes to communities? We engage in these restoration projects, like helping the communities maybe who have degraded their lands, their man-made forest, and we hope to rebuild it by maybe participating in tree planting initiatives and all the other activities we can engage in. And also another thing is to partner with various stakeholders, local community leaders, the government, and various organizations or CSOs. And also something I've learned is that we have to keep on advocating when it comes to restoration and also engaging the communities, and that is how we're going to build resilience when it comes to us tackling about climate change. I think this has really been very engaging, as I had hinted earlier. So I would like the speakers to have their last words to our participants. What are your last words when it comes to building resilience? to the communities. I give you 1 minute each for each speaker, your last words, then we conclude.
Sorry, could you take your last few sentences again? Sorry, I think I lost you.
Yeah, so I was saying that I would like to hear from each of our speakers, your last words to the participants.
Sorry, everyone. It's quite unfortunate situation I found myself this evening. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we can't hear you so well.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so my last word will be that the climate actions that we initiate, or the programs we have, whether it's at the national level or it's through our climate education, should always try to raise that awareness, consultation, and campaign within the local community. And by meeting this local community, I mean the local farmers try to understand their definition, their own definition of climate change impacts, try to find out their own indigenous solution, the use of their own local knowledge in solving the identified climate change impacts. And at the end, using these locally led adaptation measures, we should be able to build a climate resilient society, while we are also believing that our youths, the young ones, will begin to work with us in order to have a sustainable future. Thank you for having me. Apologies for the unfortunate. I tried, in fact, I've taken a walk almost around my area to see where can it be better. The network was quite unfortunate. But thank you for having me, and I hope that we engage some other time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Timothy. Despite the network disturbances, we were able to hear the wonderful presentation that you had for us. And I think about the challenges you are having with your network, probably there's more need for us to act when it comes to some of the impacts of climate change. Probably network challenges is one of them. I'm not so sure. Maybe the next speaker can tell us that. Yeah, Saudat, your last words to us.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak again. So yes, my last word is for us to strengthen community engagement, since that is one of the key things I spoke about today. Let's focus on building relationship. Let's collaborate with our community members. Let's encourage individuals to participate in the decision-making process in our communities, regardless of whatever project it is that we want to thrive. Community engagement is one powerful tool. Imagine if all communities are working together to solve the challenges or the impacts of climate change in our respective communities. Imagine what great impact that would be. And so I would like to encourage all of us to be the change that we want to see, and also apologize for the network issues. It rained here in Ghana, so I don't know if that is what attributed to that, but however, I'm glad for the opportunity, or I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to interact with all of you wonderful people. And I was able to learn from the other speakers as well. And I enjoyed the welcoming atmosphere over here. And yes, I hope to interact with all of you again soon. Thank you for having me, and good evening to everyone.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dean. Actually, Dean has been one of our speakers at Climate Justice Advocacy, and we hope to have more of Lama in our webinars, more of Timothy in our webinars, and Saudat, please keep coming back as you do. Yeah. Thank you so much. And Lama, yeah.
Thank you again for having me. I will just reiterate what Timothy and Saudat said. in everything that we are doing around climate change or environmental protection, the key is in collaboration, partnerships, and networking. And if we are able to collaborate effectively, network, and partner, then we'll be able to make the change that we need. And I want to also insist on the fact of focusing on a niche. You don't have to be everywhere to be able to make impact. You just have to know exactly what group you are impacting and what problem you are trying to solve. There are so many environmental problems. There are so many climate change problems out there. And when we start going all over the place, we fail to make that impact that we create long-lasting change. So that spoke about the Wangari Maathai project. And today, whenever we talk about Wangari Maathai, we think of the Green Belt movement. We think of her ability to mobilize women for landscape restoration. Now, when we talk about you, let's say we talk about Irilama, what do we think of? What do we see? So you should have a niche. You should have a specific area you are targeting. Don't rush. Take it easy, one step at a time, and you're going to get there. The aim is to create change. The aim is to create a long-lasting legacy and to be able to impact lives. So we need to put our hands on deck as we are trying to solve each problem and mobilize people in your sphere so that they can be able to work together with you in making that problem actually a huge solution. Thank you very much, everyone, and do have a wonderful day. I was lucky today to have great internet. Sometimes it's even worse in Cameroon.
It's great you had wonderful internet. At least we were all able to benefit from it.
That's right. Yeah, interesting. I just want to say that this webinar was very challenging. By challenging, I mean that something that challenges you to act. And this is what I meant by today's webinar. It is challenging each one of us to leave this session and to go act in our various communities. Thank you so much, Ewi Lama, for your time and for your wonderful insights and expertise in your presentations. Thank you, Saudat Kamaradin, for your very insightful presentation. Thank you, Timothy Ogenyi, for your time and your presentations as well. And to our participants who joined us, it has been very great having you here to listen actually to these presentations and to go act on your own, your own individual action. I always say that much as we come together when it comes to climate change, there is that individual action you're supposed to take, you as an individual, but also you combine it with a collective responsibility where you partner and collaborate with the others. But what are you doing, you yourself as an individual? That remains a question for each and of us to respond to. But thank you everyone for your time. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Federal Republic of Lost Island for supporting our webinars and to see to it that we educate, we keep educating actually the public about the urgency of climate change and to see to it how we can challenge the various youth that we have through our incredible speakers and to see to it that they do act in their various communities or countries where they come from. And also in a special way, I would like to thank Dr. Renuka from Global Sustainable Futures and Professor Annabeth as well for supporting climate action. Thank you all for joining and hope to see you in our subsequent webinars. You can always watch this video again on YouTube. Just tap on Global Sustainable Futures Network, or you can actually follow Climate Justice Advocacy on the Instagram and LinkedIn to see our subsequent webinars. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you too.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
All right.